Got it.
Okay.
Well, that sounds very encouraging, Mary, about,
Yeah.
it was David Nesbitt, you said?
Yeah, Nesbit.
I had another person in mind who had a similar name, but who talked with the ReefNet Festival, who expressed interest in volunteering. So I'll get back to him. I was waiting
Good.
until he had, we've been sort of catch-22 of waiting to have an actual contract so that we really have dates, but and okay. So in that case, number 2 was Dave. And Dave, do you want to pull up your screen and add it as you're talking?
I can if you like, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll just edit the, I just made the agenda into the minutes. I'm a little behind on the minutes from some previous meetings. Mary, actually, speaking of which, while Dave does that, I don't
I'm trying
have
to figure out how to do this.
for the
Cheers.
August meeting. We had a quick meeting with you, Chris and I, but I don't have the Zoom link. It's not posted on the website, so I don't know if.
Okay, let me look them up and see.
Okay, it'd be the 22nd.
Okay. I might not have sent that one on to Alan. Let me just see if I have it on.
Because sadly, I didn't actually write down who was. I don't think you were at the August 22nd meeting, but I couldn't remember. So
here's that.
Okay.
Well, you know what?
Just go.
Okay.
Let me do this. Okay, yeah, here, guys. So Lane, did you get a chance to look this over? Because
I did.
I
And
tried to.
This our whole premise is that we realized we wanted to be quite explicit in our guidelines, even in the RFQ, to say, listen, we don't have the resources, we don't have the people power over here to take on.
Right.
We don't have a general, the equivalent of a general contractor. And I mean, just flat out, we need hand holding. If that's not what you want to do, great. Don't respond to this RFQ. I mean, especially because the NPV outreach being the biggest chunk, we didn't want to give the impression that somehow, and magic will happen and we'll do a bunch of work on the sidelines or something, because I can't see that being realistic. So we just go ahead and spell out, especially because when Dave and I talked about it, I mean, there were just things like I think I talked to you, Mary, a couple of weeks ago about, I'm not positive that it's possible that they actually are including something about the marine surveys in their quote. But if we don't get an RFQ to everybody that's exactly the same and asks exactly the same tasks, then we can't possibly compare them if they're not.
Yeah.
So we were just trying to make it real clear to KPFF that, hey, we need a great deal of assistance, but we also need more things spelled out, because we don't know. We're not in the business of writing RFQs. This is our first rodeo.
Yeah, right. So I tried to address that as we talked about, Lena. What are your thoughts? Do we want to add more?
Well, and again, adding that it's also, if they think, as has been sort of what I've gotten from folks like at even Fish and Wildlife, they said, well, go back, your grant manager will be able to tell you this, because they've never done this kind of study before. I think we're not going to get as much guidance from RCO with, say, previous examples, or, oh, look at this one, this is very similar to yours, because they just don't have it. And
right, because
whoever's responding to the RFQ, if you like, oh, I've worked on these projects with RCO, I know how this goes. It's like, well, this is a slightly different type, and we want to make sure that it's, you've got a heads up that this has not really been done. We haven't found a lot of examples.
Yeah, so I said, that's why I pointed out, this is a new type of feasibility plan.
Yeah, and
typical. Yeah.
And the other thing is also that what Ted said was that Andrea is pretty new. Our grant manager is is pretty new.
Yeah, so it's just trying to make it clear that we don't really have a, unlike with the Marine Survey and with the Cultural Resources Survey, where we're not worried about missing any tasks. Both of those, or, surveys are backed up with mandates, guidelines spelled out, specific steps from either, Fish and Wildlife or from the Historic Preservation. But the engineering and outreach for a feasibility study, we don't have a boilerplate plug and play to go with.
Yeah.
So we're relying on them to make sure they've spelled out what steps and in what order. Because right now we just have no timeline. We don't have any sense of.
Yeah.
what-
So I think, I've kind of outlined that here. I thought I would start with this email,
Mhm.
and then I could suggest, based on their feedback, maybe we get a quick meeting together.
Yeah.
I haven't yet, I'm sorry, Lane, I didn't go through in detail your RFQ with relation to their, their proposal, the specifics that they outlined in their spreadsheet. And I think, but that's what the point of this ask was to, hey,
Yes.
we need more detail.
Yeah.
We need a timeline. And
Yeah.
they should understand what we're asking for here, because it's clear that we need to do a generic RFQ. And by the way, I looked at some of the RFQs I mentioned to you that I saw at Port of Port Townsend. For Mary, I was doing some looking into moorage here at Port Townsend. It turns out Point Hudson, I think, has a breakwater project going on and they're closed. So somehow I
Yes.
stumbled onto grant like like RFQs, right? And I thought, well, that's interesting because it's marine. And there's a couple of them in there for, like, one's a launch ramp retrofit or rebuild. And I got to tell you, Elaine, I can send you copies of these if you like, but they are really short and sweet. They do include a lot of the text that are in your draft.
Uh-huh.
But I was surprised at how brief they were. Some of them are like 2-3 pages long. So I think we should proceed with asking KPFF for more detail, take what they give us back, and then maybe we have a meeting to discuss it. But it sure seemed to me that I don't know what kind of flexibility there is. I mean, all right, we get these proposals back and then we rate them, right?
Well, the initial.
Yeah. And I'm sure we could have meetings and go back and forth a little bit, but I was just a bit surprised, I guess, at how brief the ones I was seeing from the Port of Port Townsend were.
Well, we have, I'll tell you what, and I've got this on the Google Docs, and if you want me to, I can share it real quickly. With the one we have, Parks and Recreation is the one that I used. Because, and as it turns out, we had already kind of generated one that was, I thought, surprisingly close with how much we did not know for the.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I'm sorry. You'll have to. Can you stop sharing?
Oh, stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did look at those, and they're all good and they're all similar. I guess just seeing the brevity of the ones that I looked at, I thought, okay, maybe we don't want to get too caught in the weeds here with detail.
So here's one from Parks and Recreation for Senior Activity Center HVAC system replacement.
Yep.
And yeah, it's about 10 pages. And what they give is a little background, timeline, the tasks, and then the tasks. And this is where we just have the very high level. You see, they've broken it down quite a bit.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like, especially because this is our first rodeo, I would tend toward the
more rather than less.
But I'm concerned because there's so much we don't know.
Yeah.
And so I thought that theirs were good examples. in the selection. So we took some of this, I pretty much put this into the cultural
Yeah.
resources one. Cultural resources, again, being the easiest on the level because the tasks are straightforward. But here they
Mhm.
So I think the point of the for the engineering one, I just I don't know enough to know how much we need. One thing to Mary, we didn't ask Ted about what his RFQ was for the when they did all that outreach about the berm and they had all those meetings. What I have is the final report from the consulting company. I didn't see the RFQ, but I'm sort of working backwards from there and assuming that KPFF, I mean, I don't think we have to spell out every single thing we get out of the results of a public meeting, but they were very specific about, up to 3 and,
Mhm. Mhm.
so what they gave us that was specific was very specific, I thought. What we don't have is like
Mm.
in between magic happens and, and the other thing, Mary, was because RCO has a very specific, at least right now, in the grant milestone is say something called like a 30% design
Completion. Yeah.
what it is. And so if KPFF doesn't know either, then we need to present something that is a parallel to whatever a 60% design means. And when it says a draft design, which it has within a month or two of starting the project, to me, that would probably be outline what steps, what is your process here? What's your timeline? What's your process? How are you going to go about this? Because for feasibility study, of course, we don't want, I don't know how
Yeah,
you
well,
call out a draft design. You haven't had one yet.
well, your draft design would be of what your whole project, what you want them to do.
Mhm.
I would think
So I'm
it's
guessing-
like, conduct the public meetings and write the report, and then you get that to whoever your designer is going to be for the dock as far as what the preferences from the community are or aren't. That's how I would interpret that, but I'm just, stupid person here that
Well,
has
that's
never done this either.
So that's why.
My thought
Yeah,
is on this item is let's get a little bit more detail from KPFF, and that will become our sort of outline for the RFQ.
Mhm.
And then I think the buzzword is right. We say what we do and we do what we say, and that's what we tell RCO. I don't think there's a right or wrong here. I just and we could probably rewrite that milestone, that 60%,
Well,
whatever.
Whatever.
Right.
So, but the thing is, we need an actual engineer to say it, because this is the other thing I'm talking to Dave about is that, or to Mary about, is that I've been using the term preliminary survey with the marine survey, and then that turns out, no, I shouldn't use that word anymore because it has a really specific meaning in marine survey world. Who knew?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we have to be careful because we, again, are not the experts on this. That
Yeah.
if there is a term
Yeah.
in engineering world, that 30% design, everyone goes, ding, we know what that is, then great, as long as we know what that is too. And if we don't, make sure that whatever description we give is distinct
Yeah.
and shows that we're not trying to do this exact 30% thing. What we're doing in place of, because it's a feasibility study, is this
Okay.
thing, whatever. So I'm hoping engineers have some, whether they call it a prototype or whatever word they use, that we can all then use the same terminology. And that way we have stages of the
Yeah.
process
Yeah.
that map
Yeah.
to getting started. You're well on your way, and we think you're on the right path to the 90%, and then the final report. So it's just making sure that we provide to RCO something they can give all the feedback in time.
Yeah.
to inform the next stage.
Mhm.
So that,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
suggests to me where the timeline, just don't get what the timeline would be, but we can't just, it's not with Parks and Rec where I turned around and said, by tomorrow, can you give us feedback on your grant application?
Yeah.
They might need, some weeks. So we
Yeah.
have to. go
Yeah.
back.
And Lane, I started thinking, it might be possible to find like maybe the RFQ or RFP or whatever for Whatcom County Public Works put out for the initial that KPFF was awarded for the ferry,
Oh, yeah.
for the public meetings for the ferry and stuff like that. And I think it was called the level of service study.
Level of
Right.
service.
So it would, and it,
Right.
that would have happened back in 20. I'm thinking look around between 2016.
Yeah, we had those
Yeah,
reports.
2016 and 2018. What?
I think we had those reports, right?
We have the after, we have the what
Yeah.
you got, what we don't have is the, what we asked for.
But
to
that could
compare.
point us to the timeline and then maybe
Yeah,
we
and
find
so-
that RFQ.
Okay,
Yeah, and you might be able to search back on the Public Works or the documents thing to see how that RFQ went. I just was thinking about that.
let me buzz, I'll
as
buzz
we were talking.
Dr. Rowland tomorrow, because I did want to keep everybody in the loop for, okay, it's the end of September, here's where we are, still waiting for the contract, but we're still working away, and ask him specifically how, because I know how to search the county website for most things, but I haven't ever tried for, because it would have been RFQ for that, because that was not
Yeah,
a construction project. Got it.
Hmm.
That's a good idea. Okay. I have, again, we
Right.
have the feasibility study.
that was like a that was a pre because they were trying to determine what the desired level of service is, and then to use it from that level of service study to design the boat that would meet that level of service. And so that was all a bunch of analysis, and also and there was a lot of public meetings involved in that.
Yep. Okay, that's a great idea.
Because that
Okay.
gave them the tools then to apply for the RAISE grants and all the other federal grants. That was kind of that I can think that would be similar.
Yeah, and it's also probably mentioned that, and you mentioned at the end of your message too, Dave, is that we say explicitly in the RFQ, our desired next phase would be to go into a pre-construction, applying for a pre-construction grant, and therefore the feasibility study, the outcome of this feasibility study is have enough information and detailed points for us. And so KPFF mentions it, but I realize they didn't say explicitly, really, outcome here would be go, no go. If go, apply for the next grant.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we'll go ahead. I think that's great. We'll go ahead and spell that out too, because you're right. They must have, in their RFQ, they must have said, listen, at the end of this, we need to be ready to do X. So we want to tell them.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. So other than that, I mean, I personally believe I just.
Yeah, because that was to develop designs for boats and everything. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lane, you were saying what
I'm
now?
saying, as far as I was concerned from your email, that I just think that seemed like the right approach with KPFF. This is where we are right now. We need help, and we'd like to talk with you about it. We're attaching sort of as much as we have, which is kind of how far we've gotten, but we don't know how to plug in
Right.
detail and the. Okay, and I will read through this RFQ again from.
Yeah, can I bring that up for a second? Because I had a question for you.
Uh, yes,
Because again, getting back to the other ones that I looked at, I know that you had put in, you were looking for a lot of, you can see it, right? Scrolling
yeah,
by.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
You were looking for a lot of detail at the end in terms of, specific staffing and tasks and hourly rates. I'm wondering if this is a little bit too granular.
Well, that's
Uh,
what we have to ask them. That's what we don't know.
yeah.
I got
Um,
this from, I mean, this is what Cultural Resources gave us.
oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, that's what
okay.
Garth gave us in his breakdown, and it's what the Marine Survey people gave. But
Okay.
obviously, at the very high level that KPFF gave us, they just gave us a big block.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
One of the arguments, I mean, for this is an RFQ, we're asking for the qualifications of the person doing this work. If you're
Yeah.
saying that it's an engineering design, don't have a person who's earning $20 an hour, because I'm pretty sure they're not qualified. There's
Right, right.
also, I think it's that, but if they have, I gave this as the following, I say as a guideline for the level of detail. And if they come back and say, oh no, you always do
Yeah.
it that way, they'll be like, great, yay, let's do it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a fair question to ask them. I
Uh-huh.
just wonder if we ask for this kind of level of granularity, does that mean, are they going to balk a little bit because they
Well,
have
just
to
put
put in?
right, I mean, write in it in red. KPFF, we don't know if this is the right level of detail. And that's
Right,
why
right.
I'm doing
Okay.
this, right? So I
Yeah.
would just say, if you want to read through this, there are places you'll realize we've asked for a level of detail we're guessing, and we've not done this before. So we would like to talk to you guys about it, get on a phone call. But this is where we are.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me do that. I'll finesse this a little bit,
Yeah.
and I'll suggest that they reply with some input by email, and then perhaps we could schedule a meeting.
Yeah.
to
I mean,
review.
they may just feel like, oh, let's just do a call. It's easier than even trying to reply. But again, before they get on the call with us, it just tells them. So we're either in the ballpark or have missed
Yeah.
terribly. And if you
Right.
go down to the next page, Dave, the milestone page,
Yeah.
I don't, that was for us, just so that we would know which milestones we needed them to include. And
Right. Okay.
so if you, I don't know if it's helpful right now to include that for them, or just to try to take in the table above where I've got gaps. That's why I was hoping you might be able to integrate some of this and say, oh, okay, so the 30, so I have what, conceptual design. So
Yes.
the preliminary site plans, we don't have a milestone in here.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe under B, we wouldn't jump right to preferred, right? There must be something, and maybe RCO is looking at the end of 3A, that's the 30%. Or it says
Yeah.
design draft. What does it say? Can you scroll down again to
Down
that
to,
table? It says
draft site design plan.
initiated. Okay, that's a draft site design plan to RCO. Like, what is that? And do we mean there's a draft site design for, I mean, I can't think that each of those has a draft site design yet, but.
Well, remember, I just want to remind everyone that, right, the grant was very specific to a pier and dock at the site of the waterfront access park, right?
Mhm.
So, and I know we've kind of expanded, we're looking at alternate
Mhm.
sites, but to me, to satisfy the goal of the grant, I would see this deliverable from KPFF is basically a conceptual design of a pier and a dock, just kind of like what we sketched out earlier, but in more detail.
Mhm.
And to show the pier, the dock, maybe some parking pullover stuff. But I don't know for sure. I mean, we can talk about this with them.
Well, I think,
Um,
to me, I think back the truck up, I think this is actually, because it's November for one. But I think this,
Yeah.
how are you going to go about this?
Yeah. And we
Okay.
got to put realistic dates to this, right? Based
And
on
put realistic dates
KPFF.
in. So
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
next one would be, so this is where, like I say, I'm just throwing some stuff out there, because when I looked at what they think in a perfect world is you hire the engineers, they know what they're doing, they're already done something, they're basing it on that, and they're saying, okay, now we're going to go forward, and here's 3 options or something. Well,
Yeah.
because we don't have that, our very, very first step is, how are we even going to go about this? How are you going to go to information
Right.
people? How are you? So if you go on down to the next blue one would be, is it?
Oh, yeah. 60%.
So to me, 60% was, now we have your 3 and we're comparing them. And from that, we're going to choose one. I mean, this is what I would say. And then when you
Yeah.
go to the next one, I think it's 90%.
Site design
Plan
plan.
plans complete in August, and then the plan to RCO. So that's we went back, the 60% was we had 3, we went back to the people chose 1, we fleshed it out. This is the recommended plan. Based on the, but the,
Yeah. Okay.
the one thing about the DPW's arrangement with doing that level of service is, I don't think they had to answer to anybody like RCO Mary. So I don't know how they broke up the deliverables, but surely they had interim deliverables. They didn't just wait till the last minute and suddenly like, here's our final report. They
Yeah,
had
and the remaining contractor docs due to Leica at that 6/30/2023.
Sorry, Mary, where was that?
Stop there. It says remaining contractor docs due to Leica in time for review. And you've got a date there of 6/30/2023 with a question mark.
2024.
Oh, this thing. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's 2024. I was
Oh,
trying to
okay,
get,
that's what I was thinking.
because we need to tell them, if RCO needs it in at the end of August, would you guess that we need it at the end of June? Gives us a month.
Probably.
Okay, I'll correct that. I can't seem to
Okay.
edit it right now, but I will fix
Yeah.
that.
Okay, thank you. It's probably a picture. Is it?
Oh, right.
It might be a picture. Sorry about that. I'll fix it.
Oh, then I will have trouble.
Yeah, you will. So
Oh, wait a minute. I don't know.
I bet it's a picture. Sorry.
Oh, you know what? I
Oh, you
can do
can.
it.
Never mind. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
So then the question mark is simply, how much time do we need as a committee, and when we have a review group? Because by then we'll have to have had other volunteers. We'll have to have a lot of eyeballs on this to say, okay, this is ready to go to RCO.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I think this is good questions and to pose to them specifically. And then I don't know what your thoughts are, Lane, after having dealt with what is it, Audrey a little bit, but it seems to me that when we get our feedback from KPFF, we just rewrite these milestones to correspond to what.
we have to be super careful with that. She actually has to get approval for anything that we change.
Okay. All right. Well, but
As it turned out, I was a little unsure about that too. But what she says is I have to go back to I don't remember what word she used, because we changed the original, because it said all contractors would be hired by August 15th.
September. Yeah, right.
Unity
Right.
World to September. So
Now,
Well,
we
it's
haven't hired anybody because we haven't got our grant contract.
we don't.
That's
So-
right.
So yeah, so we'll definitely have reworking, but but it makes me nervous to wait. That's why I want to talk to KPFF for at least one example to get an idea.
Yeah.
To find out, are we talking 1 month to do this thing? We're talking 3 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that way we have at least what we consider to be a decent example to use.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't I do this? I'll clean this up a little bit and I'll email it off tomorrow or tonight,
Yeah.
tomorrow
That'd be
to
great.
KPFF to get the ball rolling. Um,
And just
and
like I said, just write in red anything that you're like, we don't know if
yeah,
this is enough, or we are guessing, RCO may ask this, but we don't know. We need help.
yeah.
And
Okay.
I'll get back, Mary. I did not hear back um, just went out of my head, Parks and Recreation about the other engineering firm he had mentioned. He was going to get in touch with a blue.
Oh,
Oh, Anchor.
Well, the folks at, what's it? Anyway, I've got it written down.
I don't have my notes here, but I know what you mean.
Right. So I'll
Yeah.
get back to him and ask if he's heard back from her.
There's one called Blue.
Something.
Yeah, Anchor Q.
That was
Q, QFP or something like, or
She
just,
had gone
yeah,
to work for somebody called Blue something. So
yeah.
So we'll get back because we need to figure out a third one on that.
And then the other one was Blue something.
And then the
And I had a couple others, right? So I think we have enough that we can submit to.
hopefully, whether they do this kind of thing, we weren't positive. Some of them do.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. That's what we're trying to figure out. And the cultural resources one, I still haven't heard back from. Honestly, it really surprised me to send off these RFQs and hear nothing afterwards.
Mm,
So that's it for engineering. And real quick, let me just look at the agenda. The agenda says, cultural resources. Okay. Historic beach store.
Oh, the beach store, yeah.
So you saw what I said at the bottom of the agenda there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and what I've done so far is I put in to the RFQ this same piece of information. Says,
Okay.
but this is a historic building and there was a dock there in the picture. Now I've also had to go back to the archive because we don't exactly have a license to share that picture. So they said if we're going to do it for anything other than personal to get back to them. So now I need to tell them, hey, we have this grant and
Oh, really?
we'd like
Okay.
to use this picture and we need to figure out what the permission is. So if you share that with anybody, make sure you keep all the information that's on the bottom of that picture because that is basically the copyright.
Okay.
So
The one thing I wondered about, you put that statement in there and that's good, but remember, sorry, I'm drawing a blank, the
Marshalls?
former owners, the Marshalls, yeah.
Liz,
I remember
The Marshalls.
very specifically, he talked about this, this sort of archetype of
Yeah.
the store, the post office, the dock, right?
Yep.
Is it possible to find, I don't know if it'd be in the maritime historical thing, but where did he get that? Maybe we need to reach out to him, because if we could document that, that
Well,
would go a long way towards
I
supporting.
thought about that. We don't have to do it this minute. But it could be that the cultural, whoever looks at this says, in all the islands, this is a thing. And you're exactly right. He did use that term.
Yeah.
And I'd have to figure out, who, although the Maritime Heritage, the new Maritime Heritage area, MHA, might have the right words for that. Yeah. So we'll follow back with that. I do have that in myself, but I did not have a source quote.
Okay. I mean, if we could find some specific reference to that, I think that would be really supportive of this, right?
Yeah.
Because as you said, when she pointed this out, it was like, whoa.
Hello.
Is that a
Guess what?
positive or a negative?
Used to be there. And guess what the community tried to keep. I actually found because I kept all those newspaper articles from that time where people were trying to keep the dock. But I tell you the truth, the newspaper articles are little bit of a red herring. I probably don't want to bring them up unless we really need to. I think we should paraphrase them instead of using exact articles, just because
Okay.
the arguments they used were ones that we might struggle with a little bit. Remember, this is
Okay.
back in the late 70s. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, yes, but we'll try to find something to that effect, because that was part of their argument all along, and what they were hoping that the preservationists would say was a compelling reason to build the pier. But I don't know that he got involved with that
To
discussion.
save the pier, yeah.
Yeah. Because there's nothing in the writings that we have from his report of the Lummi Island, what he wrote up about all the buildings on Lummi Island. He never explicitly said that. So,
Okay.
okay. So yeah, I'll send that to her tomorrow then. And 26, let's see here.
And I guess Dave Nesbitt said he was involved with trying to save the dock, the old ferry dock, too.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, I'm going to have to call again. So Dave, what's happened here is we have from Fish and Wildlife, I talked to Fish and Wildlife about the eelgrass survey. And it turns out that where I was talking about, we have to be very careful about the terms we use. The preliminary eelgrass study or seagrass survey is intended to determine the presence or absence of eelgrass. So
Okay.
if you have an absence, then you are done, at least for now. Now, if you have an actual project, they want you to do another survey in 2 years. So that's a standard. Basically, they will ask for. So if, let's say we got out of the feasibility study, a miracle occurred, they didn't find any eelgrass. When we go for the
That's not going to happen.
When we go for the pre-construction grant, that would be the next odd year. So that would be 2025. They will expect us to do another study. However, and then there's another. If yes, you have eelgrass, then the next step is you wait until you have actual design, and you say, okay, we know we have eelgrass, but here's the design and the way we're putting the pilings. We're trying to minimize impact, and so in the end, we want to drive these 4 pilings a place that is known to have eelgrass. And then they would come and say, okay, you show us exactly where that is. You do another survey radiating out from the sites of impact on that within the window of the June 1st to October 1st, when we know the eelgrass is at its maximum. Okay, so those are preliminary eelgrass study, intermediate eelgrass study. However, not written down in the guidelines, and I did find the guidelines, is a preliminary. And that's a feasibility study, because our designers are coming on board in the spring. We would like to inform them of the degree to which we have eelgrass, so that their designs, they could say, yes, I can see what you mean. You've got quite a bit of eelgrass here. Let's, even in the concept diagrams, let's already be thinking about how are we going to manage this to minimize any impact.
I see. Yeah.
So instead of doing the real preliminary eelgrass study, which frankly doesn't get us very far anyway, because none of us believe that we're going to find absence of, right?
Right.
If we pay them to come out and do this preliminary, allowed to do it outside this window. They could do it in October or even early spring. They are allowed to do it at a less rigorous level. In other words, they have I think it was a robot taking samples or pictures.
Oh, I see.
So when they're doing a sweep, if they don't find kelp, this is why you have to study all of these things. Like, what? If they don't find kelp and all they find is eelgrass, they can give us a blob picture that shows where the eelgrass is. Because even in the middle of winter, they know where it is.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
once they have that, the engineers can then be informed, and that will be enough. We're not touching anything. So we're not
Right,
starting
right.
in our study, right?
Yeah.
But it's enough information to show Fish and Wildlife that we took this seriously. We did our due
Okay.
diligence to get an idea about the extent of the eelgrass. We then use that to inform the engineers. And then my guess is come the summer, I don't think our engineers would encourage us to get a preliminary eelgrass study.
Mm.
I would be a little surprised. I think what they would say is, you're going to have to do it anyway. And there's nothing that it helps us with or hurts us with in the meantime, because the permitting, when you really get down to wanting to get a
Yeah.
permit, that's
Yeah.
when you have to do this survey. So
Right.
why do it
Makes
in,
sense.
next summer? So we'll have to see budget wise. What confused me totally was that having this person who gave us the original quote was about $10,000 for the preliminary study. And she talked about doing this reconnaissance and it was very high level. And then she sent a quote for $9,000. And I was like, I thought this was the inexpensive, just get us in the ballpark. How come it came
Yeah.
out the same? So I was waiting to get another person who I've talked to several times, and we still don't have a quote from, who's over at Marcus Island.
Oh,
And
okay.
I'm still hoping that it's going to be on the order of a couple $1,000s, and it doesn't have to be done by October 15th, because this is
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
time. So I'm hoping that this is what would be the solution, and it wouldn't spend all of the money.
Yeah.
And if it came up in the summer that RCO really wants us to do it, we'd have to see if we have money, I guess. I mean, 'cause
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have to spend part of that budget to get this reconnaissance trip done.
Okay.
Anyway, so this is what I'm trying to shake out of people.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Give me a quote so that we have an idea. But Mary and I both said, hey, let's go down this road because it doesn't hurt to
Yeah.
get a price tag. And if this is what Department of Fish and Wildlife is looking for, and that's okay with them. And
So,
we are, and I told her, I said, we are super careful about, we represent in a way. I mean, we are the face of Parks and Recreation. This is their property. And we're trying to make sure that anything that we, if there's any requirements at all, that we are above board and trying to get as close to them as possible, but not burning through money for no reason.
right, right.
Money for this, and if we don't need to do it in the end, we won't do it. But
Right.
this seems to satisfy all the requirements and gives engineering the information they need.
Okay. So you've made good progress on these draft RFQs for the eelgrass study and cultural resources, and I think you've sent them to maybe a couple of different sources, right?
Well,
So,
not the RFQs. I got that quote, the original quote, and that's what I've been using to discuss with people. I still
okay.
don't quite understand. I don't know how to write the RFQ yet. If it's a preliminary study, I do, because
Oh, right. Okay.
Future
Yeah.
Wildlife does have a website, and they do list people who can do this. So I've got a third company I can get a quote from and such. It's
Okay.
just that I was hoping to actually get the quote to show that when I say reconnaissance or preliminary, we're speaking the same language.
Yeah,
And it's not
right,
the same
right.
price as a preliminary survey, because that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. But did you sent draft RFQs to one or two companies? Is that right?
To the
Or no?
cultural resources, yeah, they'll send
Oh,
it
the
out.
cultural resources.
Yeah,
Okay.
cultural resources has gone out back again to the folks who gave us the original quote. The Drayton Archaeology over Blaine.
Right.
Gone
Okay.
out to folks I haven't heard back from. They were graduates of WWU.
Oh,
And
right. Yeah.
a women's company out in Spokane, never heard back from. So I'm trying to find one more. There's not an awful lot of these people in our area.
Okay, I guess the root of my question here was gonna be, it seems like that's the one we're the closest on to kind of
Yeah.
wrapping up an RFQ.
You bet.
So what's the next step there? We have to publicize it, right? Do we just
Yes.
put it in the Bellingham Herald, or do you know
Yes.
what to do there in that
Yeah,
respect?
yeah, and we have some sample verbiage from the county.
Okay.
It's just that the problem is until we have a contract, in the
Yeah.
contract, they will spell out what is required for cultural resources. And that should
Right.
be included in the RFQ. That's what we don't have. So
Okay.
we could be talking to these people and even having some
Yeah,
like quotes, but then suddenly get back from our CO some verbiage that these folks are like, oh no, I wasn't expecting that. I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
think that'll
Okay.
happen. We don't know. And we don't want to yank, reissue
Right. Yeah.
issue
Right.
an apology for the previous RFQ, which was not correct because no. So we really do need to wait.
Okay.
But we're
Yeah.
doing
And
as much as we can with waiting. I mean, we're not
well,
just
that's why.
sitting doing nothing waiting. We're doing work
Yeah,
waiting.
the reason I ask is because you had some dates in the engineering RFQ, right? And I just took a swag at pushing them out, end of
Yeah.
October, but
Yes.
I just kind of wanted to discuss that and see, we're not going to do anything until we have a contract, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
And
So we can put tentative dates, but yeah, it's all up in the air.
yeah, that's where I started changing it to, instead of literal dates, to contract is signed plus 60 days or 90
Oh, right.
days.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
that. I think that's probably the better way to do it. And I find
Yeah.
that the RFQs that I've seen will do a combination. They definitely have fixed dates, and we have some fixed dates from RCO, but they also have some wiggle room.
Okay.
I think that's a fine way to do it. I also got some good information. Talked to Mary the other day, Dave. It turns out that for both the Fish and Wildlife, the biologist, habitat biologist, and the DNR, the land management people,
Hmm.
and the Lummi Nation, any of those, we should feel free to invite to any of the sessions that we are having on site.
Oh,
So like when Cultural Resources says, okay, this is when we're coming out to do the survey, we should definitely invite the Lummi Nation to attend.
oh, I see.
But go ahead and invite them. And the guy from DNR said, although we won't make a decision, DNR lease is the very last step in all the permitting.
Okay. Yeah.
And but he said we're more than happy to attend pre-planning meetings, pre-application meetings. So that's for us to keep in mind.
Yeah.
That if KPFF says, well, we're gonna have this meeting, something is fine. If they don't mention it, we should ask, hey, is
Right.
it maybe Roland? I mean, some of these meetings,
Right.
maybe, we invite Roland. So
Yes.
it's just this sort of constant, the agency outreach part of it, kind
Yeah.
of keep
Yeah.
them in the loop.
Yeah. Build the
And
rapport.
it hadn't occurred to me for some of those things. So I thought, oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Parks and Recreation too. I mean, if obviously Cultural Resources, maybe they want to come out. Rod, that's his name, Mary. Rod Lamb.
Oh, Rod, yeah.
yeah,
Rod,
right.
that's what I was trying to think. Yeah.
Okay.
Mary or Dave, did you know he came to the FishNet, the ReefNet Festival?
I think you
Yes.
mentioned that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
had nice
chatted
chat
with him. Yeah, it was great to see him. It was
Oh, yeah. I think at our meeting you said you told him about it and he got all excited and he was going to come. So
Yes.
he did come.
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good. All right. Good.
Okay, so I think the very last thing will get us done in an hour. One is I
Thank
think
you.
we should be meeting once a month. It makes me nervous to have gaps.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that would be
I can
fine.
deal with that.
I might prefer if it's not at 7 p.m.
Oh, I would too.
Maybe we could meet in the morning or whatever, if it's just the three of us or four of us.
Yeah.
I guess Chris has the most constrained schedule, I think.
Yeah.
But we should
Mhm.
discuss. Yeah, I don't have any problem meeting more frequently.
Okay.
But this 7 o'clock time is a bit painful.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you
uh,
guys think about that. Look at your schedules and see if there's days that work best for you.
Yeah, if we stick with Tuesdays, I have like a board meeting the second Tuesday of every month.
Oh,
Okay.
right. Okay.
So, but I could do like, so I couldn't do like second and fourth. I could maybe do
Okay.
first and third. If it was in the evening. During the day, I'm usually pretty free. I don't have a lot of stuff, and I would prefer morning over afternoons, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And first and third Tuesdays is a good day. That's always our rest day.
Yeah, or well, if it's in the morning, I don't have any standing conflicts on Tuesdays.
Okay. Want to try
So,
that?
but it's just in the evenings I have conflicts.
Yeah, yeah. First and third, you want to try do this for a little bit and see if this works? What time?
Yeah, or we can do second and fourth. I was just saying I couldn't do the second and fourth because of having the LICA board meeting in the evening.
Yeah,
But
but you
I
can
could
do
do second and fourth.
Yeah, but still, it seems silly because there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on. So I would just say, why not just go ahead and say first and third, and then we just avoid those days.
Okay, so then we would have another meeting next week
Yes.
then.
That would be okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Because maybe I'll have some good feedback from KP.
I know that's what I'm thinking
okay.
too. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm going for.
Yeah. So
Okay, yeah, I'll be over in Hermiston then, but I can set the time. What time do we want to do it?
I have meetings 11 a.m. on Tuesday. So every Tuesday. So that's the only block out I have. So
You want to do an 8:30? 8?
I don't mind early meetings if that works
Yeah.
for you guys. Or
That doesn't bother me.
You want to say 8?
8 a.m. on Tuesday mornings.
Yeah,
okay,
I can
get her
make
done.
that work.
fabulous.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, we can see with Chris if that would work for him.
You bet.
It may, if it's early, be better for him.
Could be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
unless
got you.
he's teaching classes or something. So
Yeah, that's right.
So Lane, if you want to run those by everybody, and then
Yeah.
I'm pretty flexible except for that 11 a.m. time.
Okay.
And so Mary probably has the most driving schedule, then probably Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's a good idea. I think, yeah, more frequent meetings because things are starting to heat up.
They will keep
Yeah.
heating up, and it is
Yeah.
a little nerve-wracking. And it's also always helpful for me to have actual deadlines, but okay, yeah, let's do that.
yeah, I like doing stuff when my brain is fresh in the morning too.
Yes, exactly. Especially now it's dark.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
yeah. And I think we can just still keep this same meeting link. I'll see if it will work in the mornings, but I think that, this is just a save meeting link, and I think we can meet at any time using the same meeting link.
I think so too.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay, good.
so, because I don't issue a new one each week. We use the same one week after week after week.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Okay, great. Well, and we'll touch base with Chris, and then hopefully, yeah, Tuesday will be good.
All
Excellent.
right. Sounds
Okay.
good, guys.
okay,
Thanks for the brief meeting today.
all right,
Efficient meeting. That's
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, guys, you take care.
Talk soon.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
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 Okay. Bye-bye.